Yeah. So here I am with my new friend, Heather Fink. And I was telling you, Heather, that yeah, I haven't done a lot of these where I get to meet someone new who's been recommended to me. But yeah, our mutual friend Debbie said, hey, if you're doing a series on conscious relationships, you should definitely invite Heather to be a part of the
Yeah,
conversation. So thank you for being here.
totally. This is fun.
Yeah. And so I
Yeah.
just, in promoting this a little bit, I just called you a transformational coach because I noticed that was like one of the words you use to describe yourself. Do you have, do you want to talk or share a little bit more about how you like to describe yourself and your current focus with your work and such?
Yeah. Yeah. Transformational coach for sure. It's a lot about freedom and liberation to be ourselves and
Mm.
and to be able to show up in relationship as ourselves and then to have relationships with others in this way where we're not playing games and trying to hide or trying to be something that someone else needs us to be. Um, so um, yeah, it's so funny. I just go, woo, just dive right down in there. Um,
Please.
Transformational coaching. So like the word transformational is definitely important in that because it's not really just about kind of doing patchwork or getting you by to be a little bit better, but it's really about looking at the, it's like doing a really deep dive underneath to what it is that's fueling your behavior so that not only do you just maybe like have a better relationship with someone, but you actually reconnect at a really deep level with all of you and you get
Mhm.
to resource yourself, meaning like your bigger self, meaning the divine beings that we are, basically, that we really get to come back home in a really big way so that our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with life is unobstructed. And then we come to relationships with others from there. So it's not just a little bit of patching, it's like, hey, let's actually like free up whatever's in the way of you just being your pure being and being here in joy with others and that's what it gets to be that's what relationships get to be. So
Oh, so well said. And you're so clear. I love how that just flowed through so clearly. Like
thank
you're
you.
so clear on what you're doing and how it's working and why it's the way to go. And it's amazing because it feels like my most recent realizations in relationships. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing that over here.
Yeah.
So, but can you tell us more, like a little bit more, like how did you come um to this interest and work, and even like some of how you do that with people? Is it, just through like talk kind of processes, or are there other modalities you like to blend in? I get a sense there's a real spirituality going on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, so go on. So please, however you want to answer that.
So there's definitely a spiritual component.
Yeah.
And I would say more than anything, it's really energetic.
Hmm.
It's really coming at our beings, recognizing and honoring that we are energetic beings and that we are in a field of energy and
Mm.
giving ourselves the ability to access the field of energy that we live in and the field of energy that we are as beings
Oh,
and working
I'm like
and
a
we're
cheerleader over here. I'm like so excited. Sorry. Go on. This is
yeah,
exciting.
I love that. Um, and so it's accessing the energetic realm, the energetic beings that we are. And I mean, there's talking because we talk as beings, but this is where like I would differentiate it from talk therapy
Yeah.
because I think that talk therapy a lot of times really allows us to get kind of caught in here and up and really kind of circling a mental experience, but that doesn't help us access all the rest of what is happening here and all the rest of who and what we are. And so really it's accessing our whole being, not only our whole body for starters,
Yeah.
but really dropping out of the mind more so, and dropping down into our hearts and accessing the somatic wisdom that we all have, and also this energetic resource that we are. And so it's moving through, moving with all of that, and basically welcoming all of that to come back online and accessing more of our whole being.
Ooh.
And addressing separation. That's really such the underlying core of this, is accessing more of our whole being so that we get to be more of our whole being, rather than operating with only a portion of ourselves, which mostly is because, right, we've been trying to get things that we need from other people, and then we try. So in our childhood, I mean, going back to experiences that we have in life with our most intimate primary relationships, which are our parents. And that really, it forms the foundation of how we then relate to others in relationship. And in a lot of those instances, we had experiences where we weren't able to stay aligned with the love that we are, because either the people around us weren't not able to resource themselves in that way, or something so extreme happened that our survival mechanism kicked in, which is amazing that we have this survival mechanism. Like, it's so wise. This whole system that we get to have is like, wow, thank
I
you.
love that. Yeah, that not to be seeing that as a something to be afraid of or to be mad at, to see that as thank you, body and system, for trying to take care of me. Okay.
Yeah, and you got me through that moment, and I totally needed all of that, and thank you so much. And then as we get past that, right, it's like we're past that experience, but we're still acting as if we're still there. It's like we've developed this meaning from what happened, and then we have a behavior around the meaning, and then it just follows us around. But then, as we know, right, we get to a point where we're like, okay, I'm actually ready to be done with that, because it's just not, it's actually in the way now of where I want to go. I don't want to be stuck in that. I want to keep expanding and keep exploring and keep growing and be more of me. So so the work that I do and that I offer is really about accessing those parts of us that get split off in those moments of our lives and those experiences of our lives, so that they can be reintegrated back into our being, back into our wholeness, and we can actually come to life with ourselves more intact. And like I said, it's like accessing all of the realms of who and what we are, to then come to our relationship with life in a way more resourced way, knowing that we are this love and living as this love, which then completely shifts our orientation to others, because we're not then looking to get our needs met from other people because they weren't met in the past, and we're trying to actually fix that by getting it from someone else. But again, you're just putting your power outside of you, acting as if the only place you can get that is from someone else, which I know so well. And it's coming back to knowing that we already are everything that we're wanting and looking for, and we get to stay at home and enjoy this, and then come from this place to interact with life and with others from a state of wholeness. So I answered part of what you asked, and then I'm trying to remember What else you
I'm
asked
just
me?
like so moved by what you're saying. It's such the, and it's really such the culmination of so many things that's been said in this conversation series, and just it's just like such a
Cool.
powerful moment. And the way you're flowing it
Yeah.
through, it's like ministry. I mean, it's like it's just medicine for my soul and my body because it's just it feels so true.
Yes.
And I love it. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. So please carry on. Carry
So
on.
much sense. And you asked me how I got to
Mm.
be doing this work and offering this work, which is like for me, it's like for my childhood and probably into my uh, early 30s or late
Mhm.
20s, I was definitely um, um, trying to manage myself so that I was palatable and acceptable and understandable for my family, for
Mhm.
people around me. And so I had this pattern of shutting down and
Ooh.
trying to contain a lot of energy because
Wow.
we all are a lot of energy. And I'm definitely one of the people on the planet who is like a black sheep. Like I'm not mainstream. And for me, trying to kind of tone everything down and fit into that sort of more mainstream was really painful. I am not meant to do that.
I hear that. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling this.
Exactly. And so I did that for many years and then and then I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let myself explore actually. There's this realm, a whole realm of life that's mostly energetic, honestly, that I just feel like so called to, and that I just feel like I'm meant to be experiencing, right? And I just
Mm.
felt like I'm gonna let myself do that. And um, so so I actually Jennifer McLean, Healing with the Masters. Have you heard of Jennifer McLean?
No, I don't think so. But
She has
healing
a
with the
series.
masters sounds familiar.
Yeah, she has a series online that she does regularly, and she's a healer, and she has a whole bunch of different things. But one of the things she offers is healing with the masters,
Mm.
um, and I like just expose myself to this summit that she does
Mm.
regularly, and she brings on all these different healers and promotes them and just showcases them,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, perfect, right? I just let myself be
Mm-hmm.
just play in this field of wow.
Ooh.
And that was basically the beginning of my personal healing and exploration of
Mm.
all of this that like my being and my soul is just really wanting to play in. And so I started that whole dive with myself and explored all kinds of things and did a whole bunch of personal transformation work, and I haven't stopped since that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
completely changed my life, and
Mm-hmm.
it will continue to because it's actually just the realm that I love to be in and play in and be open to and totally swim around in, and I love. Okay, so there was this part of me that was just like, you know what, I there's this part of me that wants to be happy. That isn't all of us, really, right? It's not just me, but there's this drive that I have of like, and how is that going to happen? Because literally, I'm not willing to feel ill. I just can't contract like that. And
Yes, God,
it
this
just
is
got
so
to be
hot and
way
feeling.
too painful to where I was
Yes.
like, okay, I can't, I'm not, I can't, no. And so then when I began the throwing off, it was just like, oh my God, can this please just never stop because this is amazing. So I'll
Yeah.
be playing in this realm, as long as I'm in this lifetime. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I love how you say that, playing in this realm. Oh my gosh. Because that's so different. I guess that, so I feel like one of my questions, something you said that really struck me a little close to home was
yeah,
this version in where we're like trying to manage ourselves, right? So that
yeah,
we're palpable and palatable for other people, or that we're not too much. And so I was thinking, well, what's different? How do we know it's not trying to manage ourselves versus like personal growth, right? And I think just that way of saying it right there, like playing in these realms, feels a lot different than managing myself, right? And
Exactly.
really just the whole energetic experience, just really getting into how it's all energy and how much we can play from there. Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What I would kind of go, like what comes up there when you bring that up is it's like, right, the more that you be with yourself in those places, right, that are like contracted,
Yes.
right, and you get a real sense for like, okay, this is painful. This is, it's actually, it's painful. And it's tricky because there's these beliefs that we think like, well, it's supposed to be, or like, that's how it is, right?
Mm.
And like, it's like we've been modeled relationship dynamics that are actually painful.
Mm. Wow. That's a quote right there. Jeez.
And then we're like, well, we're not, I don't feel like I'm able to do that. And so why? Then we turn it on ourselves. Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
And so that's the loop that's like a slippery slope of like of like this even really, really subconscious, unconscious programming, like I'm supposed to be in a painful relationship pattern and why can't I? What's wrong with me that I can't do this? When really we get to unravel all the way back to like, wait, this is painful. That I don't, that's why I'm resisting it, is because
Yeah.
this is painful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's
So
not coming from a whole place, too, like you so eloquently say,
yeah,
or
and
whole understanding. Yeah.
it's this way that we are trying to stuff ourselves, manage ourselves, cut a part of ourselves off, freeze a part of ourselves, like do anything but just be who we are. And our society doesn't support us in doing that. It's
Mm.
like, it's, you know,
Yes, right, right. And I'm thinking like how I think a lot of where the roots of this like unworthiness has come from is maybe more like traditional religion, right? That teaches that there are these dark aspects, and it kind of brings in this approach of we needing to shut down and hide versions of ourselves and kind of a disconnect, right? Or a big disconnect.
big
And
disconnect. Exactly.
I'm wondering, I don't know if you're someone who's into or paying attention to the talk in the astrology world, right? That we're like coming into this age of Aquarius and maybe this new way of being, and how much this awareness, like within relationships and our relationship with ourselves, is maybe part of that energy that more of us are ready for. And that's why,
Yeah,
even like you said, it's even that much more painful when we're still trying to do it in those ways that just aren't
totally.
natural or helpful. Mm. What
Yeah,
do you think? Do you think there's any truth to that? That there's like an
yeah,
energetic collective thing going on?
for sure. For
Hmm.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, which is exciting.
It really is. I feel that in my body. I'm like, oh yay, yay for all of us.
Exactly.
But it really does make so much sense when we get out of that mode of hiding aspects of ourselves, and we're learning to love that and realizing that we are that love, that we're just coming from such a different place. And when we're not
Totally.
looking to others for that, and it does even get us more in like, what can I give instead of what can I get, right? That paradigm that's
And what,
feels so
yep,
much better. You go
totally.
on.
And
Yeah.
what can I, and basically it comes back to just being.
Ah, what a concept. Why did that become so hard for us to just
Right,
be?
right,
I
right.
guess because we had so many paradigms that were teaching us that we're unworthy and wrong and born, with right deficiencies or a disconnect or yeah. Hmm.
Deficiencies, exactly. Yes. So, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and also how, like you mentioned, how traditional psychology and psychotherapy, and I come from the world of psychology before I got into yoga and meditation, but unfortunately, yeah, can have that limited effect in that it's going to, even how you energetically understand, and even with like how it can get us really just in our heads and disconnecting from the whole parts of us that need to be addressed and embodied. And not that I'm sure you would say nowadays traditional talk therapy, which that also is a form of energy work, right? As you were saying that you talk with your clients, of course, yeah, that's part of the energy work. But the traditional therapy now could still be helpful if we include these aspects, or maybe if you have a therapist who's more keen to like bringing in this connection piece with ourselves, right?
That
Yeah,
it really comes back to separation.
yeah, yeah.
Anywhere where separation is at play, there's a way that we're trying to manage. There's a way that we're unaware. There's a way that we're not welcoming. There's a way that we're ignoring. There's a way that we're judging. There's a way that we're actually living in an illusion, an illusion that we're not. It's like we're not able to see and honor and appreciate and enjoy our full self. So it's not like I don't want to say that something's not helpful because different things are helpful for different people at different points
Yes.
of our lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'll just say that what I offer is not traditional therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and that and that in my experience, in my exploration, what I find is that accessing more of our wholeness is what is required. And when we do that, um, I feel that, and in my experience, is that the healing happens much quicker, swifter, deeper, more thorough, and for a complete, lasting transformation, which makes sense. It just makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And
Yeah.
so, wherever you're finding that, ride it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you boil it down to disconnect or separation being the where the problems start to happen, right? And then you even list all the ways that we can create that separation or what leads to that. And so I love that the flip of that is that more connection is the answer, right? And ways that we can help ourselves feel more connected and keep building that sense of connection. And I feel like I want to ask you, because you seem like you're showing up so feeling connected, you know, like today, right? In the way you're like flowing what you're saying and so calm and poised. And I'm someone who's very interested in things like practices and what we're doing to tune ourselves, but gotta watch it's not about managing ourselves. But
Totally.
so I just kind of I want to ask you, do you have things that you do each day that help you show up and feel connected, and how much does that play a role for you, and also
Totally.
what you suggest for people you work with?
Yeah. Um, yes, I definitely do things every day. It's like, yeah, it's basically like it gets to be a continual awareness
Mm.
of sort of like when something sort of arrives or presents itself that is uh powerful enough, or like triggers basically triggers something within enough
Mm.
to kind of pull me off or out of my being, of
Ah.
like me. I get to be me. I get to be me, right? And so it's honoring, like, if something arrives that's like, then it triggers something from the past. It triggers a belief that still hasn't been resolved, where it's like, oh, I'm responding to that thing that person just said. I'm reactive. I feel like I'm triggered and I'm caught in something. And really having a really consistent way of relating to ourselves and to life, where we welcome those moments, right? Because literally those moments are opportunities for us to be shown where there's something in the way of us being our pure love. And like, so there's still something at play there. Oh, interesting. And then there's a whole ton of tools and processes and like ways to be with that I offer and teach. And like the simplicity of the background is like, these are opportunities. These moments in my day and in my life are opportunities to show me where there's still a bit of separation from like this infinite love that I am and that we all are. And and here's that way that I get tricked into playing that pattern. And then I feel like crap. And this is where it kind of starts, they're like breadcrumbs to like, oh, and so it's the willingness to appreciate and honor those and respond accordingly, of with inquiry and curiosity and appreciation, really, for that it's pointing you back home. It's pointing you back to your wholeness, right? And not like, oh, that thing's wrong with me, or oh, blah, 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 blah. And then we're just caught in that whole thing. So that's like a general orientation, right? To how to be with like all the triggers.
It's so, like a trigger practice, and to see that the triggers are the place to practice. And so instead of getting mad when we get triggered or think something's going wrong, or to see that outside of our spiritual practice, to see that that's where the real meat is of the spiritual practice, right? And the
totally.
That we can just even each day be like, ooh, what am I going to be triggered by today? Right? Because that's an opportunity to learn more about what kind of patterns I'm in that are disconnecting me, and keep unraveling that. Wow. Yeah.
Because life is showing us that, right? It's like, that's the way that life is supporting us to really just come back to our being, that innately, like, we're not meant to have all these stuck places, because when they're stuck, they hurt. And they hurt because they're not meant to be stuck like that. They're really meant to be like honored and dislodged and able to just like release and reintegrate. We're not meant to live in pain like that. However, again, like I said earlier, it's like there's this way that as a society we've kind of agreed that that's life and that's how it goes. And it's like,
right. Or all the ways we learn to respond to, like, if we feel like someone else makes us mad, right? The old paradigm would be, now it's all about them, and and we're missing that chance to actually do the work with the trigger, right? It's like the chance to do some more healing, do some more reconnecting. So it's you're right. It's such a different, and how you say it's a way life is trying to support us, actually, even to help us keep reconnecting more with the truth of who we are.
Exactly. You got it.
And then that really even does just change that contractedness towards life, because we're not as afraid of today's triggers, right? Because again, we know that that's just part of our reconnecting. I love that. That's such an evolved approach. Yeah.
Totally, right? And which is where we get to go together in this new, just where we're going as a planet and as a I don't know, like as a species and as a consciousness, like we get to evolve in this way. We totally have this opportunity.
Oh my gosh. It's like the best feeling conversation. And it's already been 30 minutes, which is what I asked you before. So it always goes fast, but wow, that was like pretty magical. Speaking of magic. Wow. Well, I'll definitely love to play with you again.
Yeah,
and I'm going to keep following what you're talking about. Holy crap. That's some good shit.
Yeah, Yeah, total
So
perspective
good. Oh
shift,
my
right?
gosh. Yeah, thank you so much, Heather. But before we don't have to close right on time, if you're okay with that, is there anything else that
Yeah.
you'd want to say? I mean, you just ended on such a good moment, but I don't want to block anything else coming through along these lines before
Well,
I
I
give you a
would,
chance to direct us how to
yeah,
find and follow you.
I definitely want to let everybody know. I mean, as you had Debbie on, and Debbie and I are co-authors of this awesome book.
Yes. Yeah.
It's been such a fun project to do together where we get to, so it's a book of 14 stories of 14 women. We talk about our own transformations
Mm.
as a way to inspire others to their own transformation. And the transformation that we point to is finding our own true power. So coming back to our own innate power within. It's really orienting away from like a victim blaming way of living
Mm.
to recognizing that we get to choose to live the lives that we really deeply desire. And for me, I focus on relationships, and it's like having the relationships that you deeply desire. And so we're launching the book. The book becomes available to people February 23rd. And right now the book is still available for $1. After the launch, it won't be available for that price. And also the reason to buy now, besides because the book's amazing and you're going to get so much inspiration out of it, is that we want to make the bestseller lists for USA Today and the Wall Street Journal. We want our message of transformation and this inspiring possibility, right, for where we get to go together, to be launched widely. And if we reach the bestseller list, it gets to be like the springform platform of awareness for people.
Yes.
So, so it's a beautiful book. It's coming out soon. There's also $2,000 in bonuses, and you can get all of that for $1 at yourtruepowerbook.com. Yourtruepowerbook.com. And if you purchase a copy for $1, and you email me your order number of your book, of the book order number, then I will gift you a 45-minute session to basically dive deep into. It's called a Desired Relationships Assessment. So we dive into the relationships you'd rather have and help bring some clarity to that. And also look at what's in the way of that. We basically look at how to get you on a path to getting the relationships that you really deeply desire. And of course, we look at, do you want to work together and do some of that work together? But even if that doesn't happen, there's so much clarity and support that comes out of that. So if you're interested in that, email me your order number at heatherannfink.com. So it's Heather, ANNFINK.com. Yeah. So that's how you can reach out and get in touch with me and support this awesome thing and just get more inspiration and be part of this really fun journey that we're taking together. We're basically building a movement about finding our own true power. So, and then, right, the more people on the planet who are tapped into our own beauty and gifts and talents and uniqueness, and we get to shine that, and then we all get to play in that, totally different planet.
Absolutely. Right? Like peace on earth. And I love that your book is all women authors
Yeah,
too.
it's all
And
women.
how exciting is that? Like women's stories, which haven't still gotten out there that much
Yeah,
at this time about this, very empowered and even spiritual approach to life
totally.
at this time in consciousness.
Yeah,
So
and the
woo,
change.
that's exciting. It really is. It really is. Like, and how much we do get strengthened by hearing other people's stories, right? It
Oh
really
my
is, like, to
God.
study other people's stories of success. How many teachers tell us that's a really like practical way to grow and develop, is to be studying people who've done what we want to do and hear their stories. It
I
absolutely is part of that
absolutely,
transformation, right? Yeah.
absolutely. There's books and people who have changed my life simply by inspiring me to what's possible.
Yeah.
And this is one of those books. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
right. And you get all the energy of all these women. So, well, that's exciting. We'll be happy to follow. And thank you so much for making time to come be
This
with
is
me.
great.
And I'm
So
so
fun.
glad to be friends with you.
Me too.
Yeah. And to keep learning with you. Wow. Yeah, that was so powerful for me. So I'm sure it was for other people. Hmm.
So fun. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks so much, Heather. And yes, thank you all for being here with us. And we'll see you next time. So sending lots of love, you all. Namaste.